Morning, Joe. It's been a
Good
while.
morning, Garrett.
How is life in Texas?
It's better, man. It's better now.
Yeah, you're just coming off of a super long shift.
Yeah. So I'm gonna get into all of that here in a little bit.
All right, so everybody, welcome back to the Tier Logic podcast. This is our Sunday coffee, as usual. Hopefully, you guys been around for the first couple episodes. You'll notice that we had to skip a week, and we're going to get into that. And then, valid reason or not, I think it's valid reason. We will be going into that topic. Also, we're going to be trying to answer any of your guys' questions. That stuff. We're going to try and make this into more of a segmented kind of what you guys are getting when you show up. It's also still going to be the same old that it's been: current events, rabbit holes, all that fun stuff. But Joe is finally back, able to get in front of a camera. He's been super busy. Me, on the other hand, I've had all the time in the world. So this is kind of a fun little dichotomy we got going here. So anyway, Joe, take it away. You got the world events. You lived it. So
Yeah. So I'm pulling up the facts on the internet about like what actually happened, and then I'm gonna tell you what I saw.
ooh,
I just gotta
little
fucking find it.
trial and error.
Yeah. I mean, sorry for
Oh,
anybody listening to this or watching this or whatever. I literally just got done working like 26 hours straight. Came home, showered, and now I'm doing this. So bear with me.
we get the real deal now. No fluff.
Giddy up. Okay, so uh, for those people that don't know, ERCOT, which is Electric Reliability Council of Texas, is what's in charge of the electrical grid in Texas. So Texas is it's not tied in. There's like 12 regions for the electrical grid in the United States, and Texas is basically one of them. We have one of the regions is Texas. It kind of goes a little bit further west, but I know that the region that Louisiana and everything in that comes over into like the Beaumont area, which for those of you that don't know is like literally just east of Houston. Like I can get to Beaumont from my house in like an hour. You know, so the main issue was with the Texas power grid. And so, for those of you that have had your head under a rock, there was a massive winter storm that came through. They're calling it a once in a century winter storm. It's a named storm. It's Winter Storm Uri, is what they named it. Came through and kicked the shit out of Texas. Now, I know I got friends all over the place. My TikTok is full of just Lyman TikToks, so I know this storm was all across the nation, right? But it affected Texas real bad because we're just not ready for it. People's houses, they don't have insulated pipes. Garrett and I are from the Midwest, so that pipes going into your house are going to be buried below the frost line. You're not going to be at that big of a risk. They'll be insulated if they're at risk and that kind of stuff. Here, people have their pressure tanks for their wells like above ground in their front yard. Like freezing temperatures is just not something that you know southern Texas or in the deep south or anywhere really has to deal with ever. So, um, being our own region for the electrical grid, we have um, power generation plants all over the place, whether it's nuclear or coal fired or solar voltaic or natural gas fired or whatever. It's all these are all just different types of power generation, and they're all linked together and they're all in phase. So if those people that know a little bit about electricity will know what that means, but um, I'll get into a little bit about how a blackout works. So they're all in phase with each other, meaning they're spinning at the same rate, they're on the same cycle, they're all like to the millisecond matched up with each other with the generators spinning in there, right? And I'm not going to get into the specifics of how a generation plant works. If you're really interested, you want me to explain it or get into it, let Garrett know. I'll do it all day long. This is what I do. I love it. But I'm not going to get into it right now. But they're all in phase together. And say one power generation plant has some kind of a mechanical failure, right? So a fail-safe goes off and that plant shuts off. So it's not producing electricity anymore. Well, all the load that was carried by that one generation plant is going to get shifted to the next one down the line. And so now that second generation plant is carrying the load for the first and second generation plants. And it's a lot of load, so it puts a lot of drag on it, and it slows down just enough to fall out of phase with the other ones, so it shuts off as a safety measure. Now you got the load from the first two power plants falling on the third, and then it'll shut off. And this is how a cascading blackout works. I don't know how many people we got that are um, old enough to remember the big ass blackout on the East Coast back in like 2001 or some shit. I can't remember what year it was, but that's what happened, was a cascading blackout. So we didn't really have a cascading blackout because ERCOT was doing what they could. Um, and again, ERCOT stands for the Electrical Reliability Council of Texas. So they're in charge of all of that. So they saw this coming, and their generation plants that are run like natural gas and stuff like that, the pipes are above ground, or they're not buried deep enough below the frost level. So it was just a supply problem. They didn't have enough fuel to burn to keep the plants running. So instead of having a blackout where it's going to take, a week, 2 weeks to get it all fired back up, ERCOT came out and they were like, we got to start shutting shit down. So I don't know the exact specific numbers, but for the ease of math, we'll say that at any given moment, Houston is using 100,000 megawatts of power, right? And I could be way off. I don't know the numbers. ERCOT called Centerpoint, the company that I work for, and they said, hey, you guys need to shed 56,000 megawatts right now, right? So that's more than half of all of our customer base. So you need to shed 56,000 megawatts right now. So Centerpoint will go in there, and it's all computerized. It's a smart system and everything. I don't work on that side. I'm an outside kind of guy, but they'll get in there and they just start shutting circuits off, and so that we can not use as much power, and then the remaining generation plants that are running can handle the load that's in Texas. So they started shutting it off and shutting it off and shutting it off, and then they'd call and be like, hey, we've got this many megawatts you can use, or we need you guys to shed more or whatever. And that's how it went. That's how it went for a few days, where they were trying to get everything fired back up. And then now it's going to be back to normal. Today is going to be a high of like 69, I think is what it said. Yesterday was a high of 55, so, everybody's back on. If I remember right, Wednesday morning or Tuesday night, we had 1.3 million customers without power. And then last night, or yesterday afternoon, we were down to like 500. So everything should be, completely back to normal. And that's kind of like a very general overview of what actually happened and why this was such an issue. It's just because, supply problem, they started shutting it down. Now I'll get into my specific experience. My wife and I were just back home last week visiting family and everybody. And then the storm was coming in, and I really didn't pay attention to it, honestly. I can't tell you any different. I really just didn't pay attention to it. I heard something about it, but, whatever. So then on Monday, we're driving back down to Texas. It's me and my wife and 2 dogs in my, I got one of them right here. Fuck. Try to throw a ball at the door, hit the door frame and bounce back. Give me that. First try.
Only try. Only try.
So it was me, my wife, and 2 dogs driving back down to Texas in my little half-ton pickup. I got a 4-door F-150. And it's snowing, and it's starting to snow worse and worse. We're coming out of Illinois, getting to Missouri, and it's snowing worse. And then the bottom falls out, and it's just fucking snowmageddon. It's ice everywhere, and of course, it's a perfect storm. We're driving into the south where nobody knows how to drive in the winter in the middle of a snowstorm. So there's, people in the ditches, there's, wrecks all over the place. You know, lanes are getting shut down. Everybody's staying in the or in the right lane, so that lane's pretty clear. But then you got one guy that's scared driving 25 mile an hour, and then you got a lane of 30 cars behind him. So we're driving. Keep in mind, it's like a 13 and a half hour drive if you do it straight through. You know, going the speed limit, it's like 13 and a half hours in a regular vehicle, not a box truck like Garrett and I did. All said and done, it was about 20 and a half hours that I was driving. Our plan was that I was going to drive a few hours, and then my wife was going to drive a few hours. That way I could get a little nap, and then hopefully she wouldn't have to drive in any weather. But it got too bad too fast, so I just ended up driving it all. Around Texarkana, it lightened up real good, and the roads were great. I mean, I was burning 75 mile an hour trying to make up some lost time, and which is the speed limit, by the way, 75. But
we don't go over the speed limit here. We don't endorse speeders.
Straight up. I'm not a criminal. But it was weird. The roads were perfectly clear, and then just on the south side of Texarkana, complete ice sheets. Like I'm talking about, you come up to a stoplight and you stop if you can stop, and then you start going sideways. It was that fucking icy. And so I know I'm driving, and it's me, the two dogs, and my wife, and I tell her, I was like, you know, let's stop and get some fuel and figure out what we're gonna do. And the gas station attendant told us that TxDOT had just come through and said they might shut down the highways. So we're trying to figure out if we're gonna, keep pushing or find a hotel or what. We ended up just keep continuing to drive, but it was legitimately 4.5 hours of 15 to 20 mile an hour. Like white knuckling it. Like I'm talking about my neck hurt from just straining.
The worst non-shit strain you've ever had in your life.
Yeah, straight up. But
you see him just.
Oh, dude, it was bad. I was like,
yeah, that's a good.
I'm like sitting up like this, right? And I've got like my neck like this. Yeah. I'm trying to like sit as high as I can and see the road like immediately in front of my truck, so I can like try to see where the dry spots and where the icy spots are the best that I can.
Right.
Dude, it was 4.5 hours at like 20 miles an hour, just creeping. It is terrible. So we get back into Houston after like 20.5 hours of driving, right? So it's 3:15 in the morning, and I have not been paying attention to any of this. I knew there would be a lot of issues, but I wasn't paying attention. Just realized something, Garrett.
That.
That's right. We'll go with it.
Hang on. Well, I'll make a clap or something. All right. Give me a second. Let me know when you're ready. I need to adjust your volume in here anyway. This will all be fun for recording for me to watch later. Ah, that's why it is. Your user volume is at like 200%. It doesn't matter. I'm not recording your audio, so it's all about what I'm hearing. It doesn't matter on the podcast. I'm just saying, like...
Yeah, I wonder where my audio was coming in.
Hang on one second. I gotta turn your bitch ass up. I had you down to like negative 15 decibels. Try again. Ooh. Ah! Dickhead!
Sorry.
Also, another thing while we're talking on this, because we're on a fucking pause / continuation. Whenever you move back, we need to get you some headphones that plug into your mic.
Why?
Because what'll happen is there's going to be a slight lag, and then whenever we're in the same room, as far as like what is picking up and what you're hearing, and then it'll allow you to hear your volume and hear your audio at the same time.
Oh, and then like I'm not picking up yours and whatnot. Yeah, I got you.
Yeah. So anyway. How? We got to restart the whole podcast.
Huh?
We got to restart the whole podcast. You had no audio.
How do you know I have no audio?
Because your mic wasn't plugged in.
Yeah, but it was getting picked up somewhere, I think.
Where?
I don't know. It's showing up on the little... in OBS, the
Okay,
little thing
I'll
on the
just
bottom.
I'll just cut all this out then. Um, I'll cut all this out till now. So, and then we'll see how it sounds. All right. What did it say when you clicked on the microphone before you plugged it in? Was it just your PC mic?
Yeah, it must be just been running on the built-in mic, either in the camera or my laptop.
Okay, that makes sense because you sound so much better. I was like, why does this mic completely aside my colors out? But I was like, why do you sound like trash right now? Like we just set this mic up. Like this mic, I know sounds better than this, but I was like, maybe it's my headphones. Like I started messing with stuff over here while you're telling your story, and then you're like, hey, by the way, we got a problem. Like what? Oh,
Because I was sitting here like talking, and then I was holding my mic right, and then I had my finger on where it plugs in, and I was just doing a little circle like
yeah.
this around where it plugs in, and I was like, oh.
Oh no, no, no. I might leave part of this in here. Okay.
This is what I think about it. So I think we're gonna keep rolling, right? And if we go back and the audio before that point is just completely trash, then we can refilm it
Yeah.
tonight.
Okay.
So anyway, are you ready to continue?
Yeah. You.
This mic that I've been fucking with is actually worth fucking with now.
Yeah. I might leave it. I don't know. I might just keep this whole fraction, except for parts of it.
That's podcast, man. Leave whatever you want in there. I don't even care. Okay. So 3:15 in the morning, we get back into Houston. I'm dog ass tired. Oh, right before we get back into Houston. So the whole way down here, they've got like snowplow trucks and shit, doing what they can, right? Out there just getting it for the company. Then you start getting into like the southern states, getting into Arkansas and shit. They don't have plow trucks. Like, I mean, they do, but not a lot. So they've got like construction graders out on the highways plowing the ice and snow and shit. But what they're doing is they're staying in one lane, going real slow so you could get around them, whatever. The whole way down here in the middle of this storm, they're staying in one lane. It's important. They're not blocking the whole road. I'm like 45 minutes from my house. Mm-hmm. Like 10, 15 minutes ago, the road's just completely cleared up where I'm cooking it 75 miles an hour again, right? Not even a little bit of ice. Okay, there's a little on the shoulder, but not even hardly any like on the fucking road. So I'm like, oh dude, thank goodness, 45 minutes left, full speed, let's do this, let's get home, right? And I see flashing lights ahead of me. I start slowing down, whatever. I was like, okay, it's another plow crew, I'll go around them. We're like 40 minutes north of fucking Houston. There is zero ice and snow on the road. And they've got a grader out there just taking the top layer of concrete off. I don't know. And then a salt truck throwing down salt. But the icing on the cake is they've got both lanes blocked where they won't let you go around them. The only place this entire trip that had zero snow or ice on the road, and they've got it blocked so that they can do this. And I'm talking about we're creeping. I've got my foot on the brake, so I don't run into them. I'm like, the whole way, dude, I could just feel my face getting red, my blood pressure just rising. The whole, like, I've stayed behind these dudes for like 3 miles with my foot on the brake. And I was like, so close to being home. Anyway, I get around them finally. There's an exit. I take the exit and get back on right. I get around them. And I get into Houston, and the main highway, the Beltway 8, it's coming to the north, take the Beltway 8 around to the east side, get off on Garrett Road, go to my house. And they had the Beltway shut off. Couldn't use the Beltway. So I was like, well, that's just fucking nice. So I have to go like a back way to get to my house. And everything is dark. Everything is dark. No street lights are on. Traffic signals are off. No houses have any lights. It looked apocalyptic. I'm still like I had a couple thoughts where I was like, was there an evacuation order that I missed? Because there was nobody on the road, and everything was dark. And I was like, anyway. So we get closer and closer to my house, and I start seeing lights. So I'm like, okay, cool. I'll get home. Those poor bastards ain't got no power, but at least I do. I earned it.
Yeah.
I get home, no lights, none, no lights at all, no heat, no power, no water. And I'm like, oh, cool. I'm so glad that I drove 20 and a half hours to get all the way back down here just to not have any power in my house, right? So we throw all the blankets on the bed, get both the dogs in the bed, and we go to bed, right? I sleep forever.
Ever.
And then I start working, and we're doing 16-hour days, so 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. And then yesterday into today, I did 6 a.m. to 10 p.m., 10 p.m. to 8 a.m., right? I did the second shift. I was covering for a guy that needed to go fix busted water pipes at his dad's house or something. I can't remember what it was, but I covered for him. But the issue that we were having down here is ERCOT would call us as they're getting, stuff starting to roll again. ERCOT would call and be like, hey, we've got 15,000 megawatts for you to use. Use it or lose it. And so there's like a 15-minute window where CenterPoint can either utilize it or they're passing it on to the next power company. So we're like, okay, we got to use it. So they get on their board and they start turning circuits on. They're like, okay, if I look at these two circuits here combined, that's about 1450 megawatts. Turn them both on. Well, that doesn't give us, the linemen out in the field, time to get to that circuit and split it in half at least, before they come hot with it. But they're energizing an entire circuit, and that's a shit ton of load to pick up at one time. And so it's just blowing stuff everywhere. It's finding the weak points. Bad transformers everywhere, blowing line fuses out, wire burning down. I'm talking about everything. So they'll energize a circuit that's got, I don't know, we'll say 3,500 people on it, roughly, depending on the circuit or whatever. It comes on, 2 seconds later, drops out, locks the circuit out. Operates 3 times, locks it out. And then now we get generated like 15 trouble orders. So now we got to go attack this shit. Like, oh man, they got power on that circuit. We need to get these lights on. So we'll get over there and be like, okay, we got 2 bad transformers here. That fuse is blown. That primary right there is down. Stuff like that. And, all these crews get there and we start replacing transformers, replacing fuses, picking that wire up. And then it'd be like 15 minutes after we get all that done, ERCOT calls CenterPoint and says, hey, you guys need to shed 20,000 megawatts. Shut them circuits back off. So then those people that we fought so hard to get lights had lights for 2 minutes, and then they took it away again. And that's what they did. So they all week, man. And so they were trying to do like this rotating schedule, which I get. I get what they were trying to accomplish, where they're like, we only have so much power to use, so we're going to energize these circuits for so many hours, and we're going to come off of them. And we're going to energize these circuits for so many hours, and we're going to come off of them. But doing that, it's just finding all the weak points and blowing shit up. So by the time we get it fixed, they're cutting it off and moving on to the next circuit. So it's all week just getting kicked in the nuts. 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. Go fix this, get it fixed. They shut it off. But like I said earlier, yesterday afternoon when I looked at the outage tracker, we were down to like 500, which is pretty usual. That's not much for the Houston area. And then I worked 26 hours, and now we're good. Now I'm on to my weekend. You know what I'm saying?
And now we're here. So everybody who's been wanting this episode,
general overview of what the fuck went wrong in Texas, and then what we were doing.
So also in Illinois, I'm going to give the Illinois version of this. So we decided to be engineers this last week, and we also took into account that we were going to let the owner of the property have a say in where the snow fence went. And so this was one of the funniest moments I've ever seen as far as a father-son interaction. Now, before I tell this story, I have 100% respect for Joe's dad. He's like a second dad to me. It just happened to be that this story was just too funny to pass up. So, in Illinois, while this whole tundra thing is going on in Texas, it's also going on in Illinois.
This is right. This is right before it hit Texas. So this was like,
yeah,
this was a storm that came, like the snowstorm that came through like the Midwest, and then the big winter storm Uri came a couple days later. Uri hit when I was driving back.
Yeah. So basically, Illinois, if nobody knows, has both sides of the weather spectrum. If you guys aren't from Illinois, we get negative 15 in the wintertime, and we get 105 to 100. Let's go with 105, play it safe. The hottest day last year was 105. So we don't get ridiculous heat like they do in Texas.
Yeah, that's an extreme, yeah.
Yes, but I'm saying like the most extremes is that gets that range in Illinois. Like you can expect in Illinois, if you live there, you're going to get somewhere in there for most of the year, right? That's a pretty fair statement. So we're used to weather that sucks a lot in the wintertime. And it typically doesn't suck here until after Christmas, which is stupid. But you get maybe every now and then a white Christmas. So anyway.
Yeah, it's Joe's like after once you hit the New Year, then the bottom falls out up there, and that's when you get all your snow.
It's so stupid. Like, dude, like if you're gonna give me Christmas like after Thanksgiving until like January 15th, then I'm like, get out of here, snow, get out of my life. I don't need you. Because I'm trying to go back to work and do things now. Yeah. So the snowstorm hits, and Joe's parents live out in the country, and Joe's dad is from the city of St. Louis. Long time ago, but he grew up in St. Louis, in that suburb or what. I'm not getting into all that shit.
Either way, and didn't grow up on a farm, so snow fence wasn't on the front of his mind.
So he goes, the lane gets drifted over because I mean we're getting like if you go outside of town, it's 15-mile-an-hour winds, like just blowing cold. Like we and Joe were talking on his way home, come visit. It was 69 when he left Houston, and I was like, "Oh man, it's gonna be cold tomorrow." He's like, "Bro, how cold?" And I was like, "Oh right, you're in Texas now. You're not used to any of this, so I'm gonna enjoy this." I was like, "By the way, when you come in tomorrow night, it's gonna feel like negative 15," and you're like, "What?" I was like, "Yeah, man, you bring the cold with you every time."
It ended up being warmer the night that we got back. We got back into town at like, fuck, I can't remember. 1 in the morning. Does that sound right? Like 1 in the morning.
Yeah, you actually you were cooking. You were going a lot faster now. You got back at like you were like in Effingham by like 11 or 10 because you called me. You didn't get back home. You didn't go. You didn't get back home to your parents' house because you had to go drop your wife off and the dogs off.
We get back into the area at some point between 10 p.m. and 1 a.m., right? I can't remember what it was. It was 9. I think the real feel was like 2 or 3 or something. So it wasn't negative yet, but I don't care who you are. If you're going from, hey, it's 8:30 in the morning and it's 68 degrees to show up, like I'm in a heated truck the whole way. I got a 36-gallon fuel tank in my truck. I got to stop for fuel once, halfway, and then when I got out, it was 50. The next temperature that I felt was 9. Thought I was gonna die. Thought it felt like what was that movie, The Day After Tomorrow, where that frost is just coming across? That's what it felt like.
All I'm imagining is like the most ridiculous thing from like Home Alone, where the guy has like the frozen beard and all the icicles, and it's like, hey, by the way, the animals are fed, and it's like the guy shaking or whatever in that meme. That's what I think about when I see you in the cold. So the lane drifts over, and I get there, and I'm in my 2-wheel drive POS, and Joe's on the front porch, and I'm like, this is gonna be good. Like I knew I had an idea what he was doing, but I knew it had something to do with taking a video. And so like I am like I need to hit this. So I hit that drive and then like didn't go. I went like my back end skid. So I backed up. I backed up all the way to the drive and like I saw where the cars were going on the grass and I just
3 shots
rammed
at it.
Okay, whatever.
And then you backed up to go at it again, but it was all ice, so you couldn't get enough speed, so you didn't make it. You kind of like didn't really do, you just kind of creeped forward, and then you went all the way back and hammered it.
So then we get snow fence, or they gotten snow fence, and we go to put it up. And so obviously we gotta ask Joe's dad where he wants it. So I'm in the truck. I just got off work, and Joe's like, "Hey, we're gonna put up snow fence." It's the first day back that I can see him because he got back on like what Wednesday night.
Eat more meat. What?
Nice. You got back on Wednesday or Thursday night? I think it was Wednesday night.
Tuesday night.
Oh yeah, so it's Tuesday night, and I haven't seen. Yeah, so I haven't seen this dude. He's been home 2 days, and I haven't seen him. So I go on Friday, and we're gonna go build some snow fence. Mind you, it's like feels like -5.
Yeah, at
Like,
this
it's
point
cold.
it's getting colder.
It's cold, and so I'm sitting in the truck. I've already been outside, semi-outside working for the day, and I'm sitting here listening to these two argue about where they're putting the snow fence. We Google how far away you got to put snow fence. That doesn't make any sense. So we're like, no, Google can't be
140
right.
feet.
Yeah, 140 feet from the lane is where you want the snow fence. So I just get out, and this is nothing to them two, because this is how they decide things. They just talk about it. And I was sitting in this truck listening to them, and it's not a bad thing, but like I just got out and started grabbing posts, and I started laying them out. And this guy opens the door. He's
Garrett did not start laying them out. So a huge thing in my line of work is wasted moves, right? If you waste moves, it's in our line of work is exactly the same as being a piece of shit. You know, the whole goal is to get up there, do the work as fast and efficiently as safely as you can, and get back down. So if you're going from the bottom of the pole to the top of the pole to the bottom of the pole to the top of the pole, you're wasting moves. You're a piece of shit. So Garrett gets out, and what does he do? Starts hammering one of these things in the ground. So I open up my door, and I'm like, "What the hell are you doing?" He said, "Well, you guys couldn't figure out where you want to do it, so I'm just doing it right here." And I was like, "I swear to God, if we have to move that post, I'm punching you in the face." I was like, "I'm sitting in a warm truck figuring this out, and you're just gonna get out, start doing dumb shit." I was like, "Get back in here."
I was laughing on because the running joke around the place with Mr. Gary is this has turned into a union job real quick because both me and him are in the union. But at that moment, I looked at him and I was like, "This is legit turning into a union job." I got two foremen and I got a foreman and a superintendent sitting in a truck trying to figure out where we're gonna put the post, and one guy over here like, "Let's go." And it wasn't that it was a bad thing. So anyway, we put the fence in, right? And so this is the best part of the story is this: we put the fence in, and Mr. Gary tells us where he wants it, and the next day, after we put this 50 feet or 100 feet of snow fence in, me and Joe tried to say this. And I mean, obviously, we're not always right. But it was 50 feet south. Or I'm sorry, it's 50 feet east of where it needed to be. So the heaviest drifting.
Hey, man. I think we should have put that, like, up that way more. And I was like, yeah, I kind of agree with you. I was kind of thinking that, but it is what it is. Next day, where the snow fence is, you know, because the wind, if this is the fence, the wind wasn't coming straight at it like this. The wind was coming like this. So the snow fence kept the bottom or the lane towards the road clear, but we didn't have a drifting problem there. The drifting problem was towards the house. So it wasn't blocking anything. So we ended up going to buy. What we went and got another 100 foot, right? Got another 100 foot and added 50 foot onto it, and then put another 50 foot up by the house. And
Yeah, so we put this next part up, and then his dad has the audacity to come in and look at us and go, "Boys, your snow fence doesn't work." Excuse me? Our snow fence doesn't work? And so, like, it's all jokes, and we're all having fun. But literally the biggest mound of where we needed a block didn't have snow fence, so it did it again. And so the next day it started working, so we were able to get in and out. And the other thing that happened is that the between the pine trees and the barn would actually cover their real concrete drive into their garage. Hi, Captain. And then so we got that snow fence up. Well, we did this all at like, I don't know, 9 in the morning, I think, because we went and got breakfast and
it was pretty early. Yeah,
Then
well,
we ran around.
a little bit after, but yeah.
So we went around, did some errands, right? And then we come back and we have these old gate rods from a farm we used to work at. Shit you not, they're like this thick of just solid metal. And uh and so Joe's like, I got the perfect use for these things that have been in my truck for years, or in the shed. So we come back after eating, going around doing our stuff for the day, and the snow fence is like this. It was standing like this. It's now.
Yeah, it was. Well, it wasn't all of it, right? It was like most. Yeah, it was all. It was like most of it was bent over.
I was like, okay, not all of it, but
Dad and I bought the first 50-foot, and we bought those little skinny round rods, and I was like, man, but Farmer Fleet didn't have any T-posts. They were sold out, so we're like, I was like, these will work in a pinch, so we went with it, and those things stayed up. It was the cheap ass fucking aluminum T-posts that we got that.
Yeah, it looked better. Yeah, it looked like they would do better, but turns out get the short solid stakes. So anyway, we go back and we fix this. We're mending our fence, right? And so it's this. We don't have a reason. We really just wanted it to work. And so we got there and we started putting gate rods in the ground. And by this point, it's a tundra. Like, it is negative degrees plus negative wind chill. We're out there putting this stuff together, and it is terribly cold.
Oh yeah.
And so, but probably one of the other parts of the story that we left out was I said, hey man, when are we doing this? It was backing up a little bit, and you're like, tomorrow after breakfast or something. And then Joe's dad's like, all right, let me know and I'll come help you. And we're like, okay. Meanwhile, like the day before this guy had helped us, he was in tennis shoes in like
He was
5-degree weather.
Those dad New Balances, man. I told Garrett him and I don't really have this experience yet, but once you get those dad shoes and you mow in them for a while, they become winterproof.
Yeah, apparently. I didn't know this, but that's a thing. And so his mom asked us, she goes, oh, you guys gonna be out there for a couple hours fixing this? We're like, no, we'll be back in 30 minutes. Probably 45, because we're gonna get cold and we want to get it done quick. We go out there, we bust out the snow fence, and he wakes up, he's like, oh, you guys got snow fence, that's awesome. I'm like, yep, no problem. 100%, because me and Joe know that we can do things very quickly when it's just me and him, and we already have a general idea what's going on. So anyway, that was the tundra. And then he leaves, and he's going back to Texas. And then in my world, snow apocalypse apparently hits Illinois, because we haven't had snow like that in a couple years. I mean, it's been a while. Like, last winter was pretty tame. Like, we didn't have very much. Maybe like
several winters have been pretty tame. I think the winter before last winter was we got good snow, but it wasn't a lot. It wasn't a shit ton. No. It wasn't like what it used to be.
Well, my grandma comes in.
Thanks, Al Gore.
Yeah, thanks, Al Gore. I'm coming around the corner talking to grandma. She's like, it used to snow like this every winter. I go, well, mind you, grandma's like 70. So
well, I can remember that too, though. Like, I mean, obviously I'm not 70, but I can remember growing up, and every year it was guaranteed we were going to the, Brook Hill. Remember we lived on the edge of town. We lived in town at this point, so the snow in our backyard would drift up coming off the field. It was guaranteed that we were going to have 6, 7, 8 foot drifts in our backyard. Yeah. That was every year. It wasn't a question of, is it going to snow before New Year? It was every year that shit was happening.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where it's like, it happened, and we've had so many light winters around here, people kind of like panicked. And like, they haven't, it's like people's memory. It always astounds me. This is another rabbit hole we can go down on this podcast or another one. It always astounds me how quickly people forget things, or how like quickly humans just say like, no, this is the new standard. Like, we're not gonna have very much snow because we didn't have it last 2 years. Like,
I got a pet peeve you reminded me of that I want to bring up, and it happened with COVID, and it happened with this winter storm.
Okay. Does it involve me or is it just general people?
No.
Oh, okay.
This is the general public of
All of
Houston.
you. Okay, just that in a bubble.
One of them is nationwide. Everybody felt it. The other one was, I'm pretty sure, was pretty Houston specific. First one's toilet paper. Nobody could get a hold of toilet paper when this shit went down. Nobody was shitting extra because of COVID. Everybody was shitting the same. If everybody just continued to buy toilet paper at the same rate that they've always bought toilet paper, there wouldn't have been a TP shortage on the shit tickets. Okay? Y'all hear me? Continue to buy things at a normal rate. There is no supply issue for toilet paper. And then you know what happened again? Everybody bought all the gas. You could not find gas. No, you couldn't find gas here. We get back into town. My wife works the next 2 nights. I'm going into doing 16s. And she's like, hey, I've only got a quarter tank of gas in my car. You know, and I'm looking at my truck. I'm like, well, I only got half a tank. Which for me, half tank's not much. I've been driving all day. I still got a quarter. You know, I got a 36-gallon tank. I was not worried about mine, but she's like, I only got a quarter of a tank. You know, we're from the Midwest, so the wintertime, kind of a general rule, at least keep half a tank of gas in your car at all times, right?
At least your wife got that memo.
She got it. I don't know if she read it.
I was gonna say my wife didn't read that or get it. She's like, by the way, I'm out of fuel.
No, yeah, she's pretty good about it. But since moving down here, it's not an issue. You don't have to worry about keeping, you know, at least half a tank because you're not worried about getting stuck in a snowdrift, you know, and having to wait. So, you know, us leaving town when it's almost 70 degrees, it wasn't on the forefront of my mind to be like, hey, let's get some gas in your car before we go. So we get back into town and there's no gas anywhere. Like, you've seen a Buc-ee's, right? Yeah, you've seen a Buc-ee's.
Love Buc-ee's.
Dude, for those of you that don't know what a Buc-ee's is, you need to look it up. And the next time that you're in Texas, find a Buc-ee's and go there. You're not going to regret it. They got the best food in there. They've got plenty of parking space. They have no less than 50 gas pumps. I'm dead serious. 50 gas pumps. And they have the cleanest shitters on any place you're going to stop on the road. That's a fact. I'm telling you. They got, every time I go in there, there's a dude in there cleaning the bathrooms. It's the best. Anyway, that whole place was out. They had no gas. None. Zero gas. You couldn't get gas nowhere. So my issue is, if everybody continued to buy gas at the normal rate that you buy gas, there would still be gas to be had for those that didn't get gas. So if we could just continue to buy things normally, then everybody else can continue to buy things normally. Please. That is all.
So, after that public service announcement, the other part to this is everybody was losing their minds about how much snow had dropped. Things were shutting down. Like, classes got canceled.
Oh, smells like a country road. Sponsor me.
My wife has one of these candles that Joe is lighting right now.
Oh, does she like it, man? She lit it yet?
She does. And you know what it smells like? After you got it for her, I didn't smell it before you got it for her. She's like, this is an amazing smell. I was like, this smells like Bod body spray from junior high.
No, you told me that when I pulled it out of my bag. You said it smells like you said Axe though.
Yeah, whatever. I was like, I told Sam when she lit it and I could smell it in the house. I'm like, I can take you to Walmart and I'm pretty sure it's the blue bod smell. And that smells just like it. She's like, well, it smells great. And I was like, all right, cool. My wife,
yeah, but it's gooder.
Better. Yeah,
I can't remember which flavor I got her.
Texas Front Porch.
Oh, that's a good one, dude. Texas Front Porch is a good one. Texas Pride's a good one. Texas Thunderstorm's good. Country Road, this one's pretty good.
They aren't even like, this is the best part about Texas. So I just enjoy this part about Texas. Like, I know this is a random ass caveat, but like, they don't even have to come up with real smells. Like, it's not lavender or peach. It's just throw Texas in the first part of the name, and then what the fuck other?
Yeah, I mean, like there's things like you could be like Texas wildflower, and you're like, okay, you know, I get that. But no, it's like Texas Pride is the flavor of one of these candles. Another one's Texas Front Porch. This one's just Country Road. If I had to come up with it, if somebody came to me and they're like, "Hey man, we need you to come up with a flavor or a scent for," I've been saying flavor this whole time.
You have been, but whatever.
If we need you to come up with a scent for a Country Road candle, it would probably smell like you driving down a dirt road when it's 75 degrees out and sunny with no clouds. You know that it got like that fresh smell going on, and then a little bit of dirt smell. That's what I would think of. This does not smell like dirt.
I don't think anybody wants it to smell like real dirt. They just want to have a candle that says Country Road and
You'd
feel
be surprised,
cool.
man. Like, I know if they.
So anyway, this is a caveat for Joe's commercial for candles. If you're a candle maker and you want more candles with Texas names in them, hit up our podcast link or our email and let us know, and we will help you design a new candle. That reminds me, I'm going to take this short pause to say, guys, if you don't already follow us, I have all the socials linked below on the YouTube channel. It will also be in the description of this podcast. Do me a favor, guys. We're getting through about halfway point of this podcast. Take this little break. Go ahead and leave a review. Send us some messages on social media. Follow us there.
Yeah.
Ask questions. Right now, we're just going over what we've been doing the last 2 weeks. But we do. If this is your first episode, we do a current event segment at the very beginning, which usually leads into a rabbit hole later, or we'll talk about what's going on in our lives, or answering you guys' questions whenever you have them. Like, so if you want, I've said this kind of before, but I've been a firefighter. This is my 10th year as a fireman. Joe is an Army veteran. He was a lineman. I'm a pipe fitter. We have a vast amount of knowledge, and we both work in ag. If this is your first time tuning in, or we did, and so we have a bunch of knowledge about different stuff. Is it always right? No. But is it our opinion and it's a source you can ask from? Yes. So hit us up in the socials below. If you don't already follow the YouTube channel, go ahead and hit that subscribe button or the like. And just for more madness like this, watch the YouTube channel, because I can't make this up for you guys on the podcast to be able to see what I am witnessing at this moment. So please go check out the YouTube channel at about 47 minutes. And you will see this ridiculousness that while I'm doing this ad. So anyway, back on to Illinois weather. How we got into Texas smells, I don't know, but
I caught a whiff of something. I didn't know if it was my mic stand. It's not. It's not my mic stand.
Joe is losing his mind.
I've been at work for 26 hours.
So I'll wrap mine up.
I came home that late, and now I'm doing this. Sorry, Mom. Oh, dude, I texted. My wife texted me like an hour before I got off. She's like, "Are you on your way home?" And like, I don't know if your phone does what my phone does. It probably does. So in your text messages, like depending on like what their first letter of their name is, it's a different color, right?
Yes.
So my wife's name is Michaela. So she's in my phone as Mickey. And I also have my mom in my phone, and her name is Mommy. So they're both orange. So my wife texted said, "Are you on your way home?" And I got lucky because we ain't been talking about nothing bad, at that point. But I was just at this house where a drunk driver must have thought it was not a dead end and literally drove into these people's houses, right? So we go there to shut the power off. Meet the fire department, shut the power off so that they don't catch nothing on fire, right? So my mom texted me. Oh, that makes more sense. My mom asked me if I was on my way home. This is where the confusion happened. I thought it was my wife. So I texted her back. I sent her a picture. I sent her this picture. Right. That's where they drove into the house.
Right.
And I said, "Good morning, baby. I'm not headed home yet. Just cut the power off this house after they tried to drive through it." To my mom.
Did you get a response?
I immediately texted her back and said, "Wrong person, but still interesting." And she said, "Glad you sent it to me by mistake. It is a hoot, though. Poor folks. Now more to repair. Just called my
So,
mom baby this morning. My wife didn't even text me that I'm on the way home.
so I would recommend that just so you don't have this happen again, that you either put an A in front of your wife's name, or what I do in my phone, just so there's no confusion at all, is, and I've had people give me shit about this, but I got this idea from another guy who's married. I just put my phone in my wife in my phone as wife. Literally not her name, not any like cute name. It just says wife.
I need to do
So,
that anyway, honestly, because like, not to get too dark, but if like something happens to me,
that's why I did it.
yeah,
100% why I did it. Because somebody will see, they'll
Wife.
open my phone and they'll be like, wife. That means it's his wife. Because nobody's going to be like wife and put somebody else's goddamn name in there. That's stupid. They're going to have dad, mom, wife.
I'm gonna do that right now before I forget about it, because that's a good idea.
And it's going to
For
change
those
the color.
listening, it's a good idea to do that. I have done this multiple times where I text the wrong person things, and it's never anything generic. It's always got to be some shit where like. What were we talking about?
Who knows? I'm so lost in this podcast. We've gone from like Texas driving to plow trucks to salt to snow apocalypse in Illinois to cold weather, snow fence. You texted your mom, baby. Like, this has just gotten weird. We've just gone so off the rails. I don't care. You pick what we talk about next. I don't. It's so. I'm just kidding. I know where we're at. So,
I'm sitting here like racking my brain, like here's the gears in my brain because they've been running overdrive. You know, they're just sitting here like this, like. Like, oh shit. You want a chicken salad sandwich? Oh. That's the guy I work with. Offered me a chicken salad sandwich earlier.
So, basically, what we're getting at is if you haven't lived anywhere with snow apocalypse,
yeah, I remember. You were doing you're doing the plug about the socials and everything.
oh, that was over with. So, but that was a good spot there. God, I'm so angry today. Other than that, guys, basically it's been a snow apocalypse on both ends, and it's been kind of crazy. And like I've seen, and that makes sense about the gas pumps. So jumping back into the gas pumps, which was like 20 minutes ago. You
talking about in Texas?
Yes. So the gas pumps, JP Donnell, who is a guy in Texas. He's a military guy. Anyway, he's on social media. Basically, he offered a ride to any first responders or nursing people that needed to get to work and couldn't. Either A, that means they don't know how to drive in the snow, or B, they're literally out of fuel. That makes a lot more sense. I was like, how do you not know how to get to work? But then I was like, okay, it's Texas. There's a little bit of snow. People freak out. I get it.
Mixed Hospital had a problem. They were asking the nurses to show up like 2 hours early or something like that. They said to relieve the day shift people so they had at least an hour of daylight when they got home with no power to do whatever they need to do in their house, right? But really what it was is they're giving you an extra, say the average person leaves their house an hour before they have to be at work, right? I don't know if that's an average, but it's a generic number, right? And they want you to be there 2 hours early. What they're doing is instead of you leaving on your own time, they're wanting you to be there 2 hours early. So you end up having 3 hours to get to work because they were having too many problems with people calling in because they can't make it. Not just because they don't have gas, but because they couldn't get there because of the ice or whatever. Which is stupid.
Yeah, I get that. I mean, at the same time, it's like as long as she was getting paid, like, I mean, it is what it is.
Oh yeah. No, she was getting paid overtime, so I wasn't mad about it. She wasn't mad about it. It's just people down here just don't know how to drive in it, Which I get. I get it. Oh, another thing, I'm gonna put a Ford plug in there.
Okay.
And this is
not a paid advertisement.
Two things, not a paid advertisement. The first one doesn't involve me. The second one does. The first one, the new 2021 F-Series pickups, they have an option where you can get a 120 and 240 plug in the bed, where
Okay.
you can plug something into the bed of your truck, and you can get 120 or 240 out of it, so you can run appliances and shit off it. There's a dude somewhere in Texas ran his entire house off of his truck when he had no power. He just parked that bitch back to the bin in the garage and plugged it into his house and ran his whole house off of his truck.
How?
What do you mean how?
No. I get the how part. Hang on. No, just how much power can that produce?
I don't know. I don't know the specifics, and I imagine he probably couldn't run his entire house at one time unless he had a smaller house. If he had a smaller house, um,
Yeah.
then maybe the truck's able to produce the amount of watts that you need. Um, I don't know the specifics, but what you can do if you have a bigger house, which is what people do when they have portable generators, is you get into your breaker box and you can turn off different breakers and say you're like, okay, I want to run my heater. Well, if you got a gas heater, that's easy. The only thing you're running on electricity is a blower motor. You just go in there and light the pilot light, and then you run the blower motor. But if you have an electric heater, it's different. Or like an air conditioner, it's going to take a lot of power. But maybe he was like rotating it, like, okay, I'm gonna run my heater for a little while, and then stop running his heater. Like, I'm gonna go cook some food, so he put it on the kitchen, or I don't know exactly. But that's badass, dude. That's awesome. Because I was sitting here, like, hurricane season came around, and I was like, you know what I need to do, man? I need to buy a generator in case some shit happens. I looked online briefly, and naturally, all the generators are sold out. I get it, is what it is. And I was like, I gotta make a note to buy a generator. In true me fashion, I didn't buy a generator, and so now I come here to the house with no power. But if I had a truck that did it, that's money, dude.
I guess I was more interested in how much power they're putting out can like run a welder out the back. If it ran its house, I'm assuming it can run
I doubt it. I seriously doubt it, because a welder is going to be low volts but really high amps.
Yeah.
And to run your house, it's going to be low amps. Gotcha. There's houses out there that have like just a 200 amp service. So that's all that the main breaker can handle is 200 amps, and that's the whole house. Run on 200 amps. So I don't know how it breaks down. Like, watts is volts times amps. So higher the voltage, the lower the amperage. The lower the voltage, the higher the amperage. I don't know the exact numbers and what it was putting out. I just thought it was cool. But the part that does involve me is in my half ton. I've got a 2015 F-150, and I got a 5-liter V8, and it's a Lariat. And on the drive selector, I've got 2-wheel high, 4-wheel high, 4-wheel low, and I got 4A, which is 4-wheel automatic. Never used it before, didn't think anything about it. Like, whatever, So I played around when I was at home, driving around in the snow. I put it in 4-wheel high, and then I was like, when you shift in and out of 4-wheel high, you're supposed to be like 5 miles an hour or less, or something like that. Or at least that's what it used to be. It was like 5 miles an hour or less to shift in and out of 4-wheel drive. And then obviously to get into 4-wheel, you got to put it in neutral. But I put it in 4 automatic. I was like, well, let's see what this thing will do, And if I got up to about 55 miles an hour and my traction control didn't go off, there were no issues, it would kick it into 2-wheel drive at like 55, 60 miles an hour. And then whenever I was coming to a stop sign or whatever, the snow always gets piled up right there. As soon as I, got to a stop or slowed down enough, or the traction control kicked off, it'd kick it into 4-wheel drive. So there was a couple times driving down here where I'm doing 70 miles an hour, and I'd hit a little piece of ice, so my traction control just comes on just a second, kicks my truck into 4-wheel drive at 70 miles an hour. Kept that thing straight as an arrow. That's my other plug for Ford. I haven't seen it. They're also similar. Dodge, Chevy, GMC, they probably have it also. I've just only seen it in my truck that I have. And I'm telling you what, it is badass. I ain't got to worry about it. Just kicks it in and out of full drive whenever it feels like it. It worked out pretty good, man.
So that is our rendition of the snow apocalypse that was what just happened. And I know the rest of the part for Illinois was that they were starting getting the plow trucks out. They basically shut everything down on like a Tuesday or a Monday because of the snow that was coming in, and it was mostly Tuesday.
Yeah, it was probably yeah, it's probably Tuesday. You're probably right.
Yeah, so I get my dad and his. Talk about your dad. We'll talk about my dad now. You haven't heard this story yet. So, Dad had a snowblower. Me and Joe here fixed it once, and he hasn't had to use it in a long time. So what did it do? Sat there. So Dad is in his later years has tried to become more mechanically inclined or become more handy and got tools and stuff. So he texts me and he says, "Hey, you can have I got a snowblower for you if you want it." All right. Usually these things are attached with if you can get it to run. Not that my dad's a jerk. That's just I get it. It's whatever. If you want it, if not, I'll pitch it. Okay, no problem.
Yeah, and that's most people.
Yeah, no, it's most people. And so I get a text from Dad saying, "Hey, go snowblow Grandpa's driveway for me." Yeah, no problem. So I go over there and I walk out. I walk up to the house and there's this brand new, shiny, red snowblower, and I go, "Huh? What happened?" He goes, "Went to the store for a spark plug. Came back with this. You can have the other one if you want it." Like, that is no true statement is coming out of my dad's mouth. Like, that sums up my dad's mechanical. Like, he's good at fixing some things. He did. I mean, but it was so funny because he looked at my mom and she was like so proud. And the way my mom tells the story is even better. She goes, "Yeah, your dad went out there and he worked on the snowblower and he tinkered around for like 30 minutes and he comes back in and he's like, I'm going to run to the store. I need to go get a spark plug or something. I don't." And so she's like, all right. So then he comes back and like 30 minutes later, he gets this, she hears this wah, 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 and it all fires up. And she's so proud. She's like, oh, my husband got this thing to work or whatever. And she's telling this story to my grandpa. My grandpa goes, he went and bought a new one, didn't he? She goes, yep. I was laughing so hard because everybody knows, like, if it doesn't work, my dad's going to go buy something new. So
to also put it in perspective about Garrett's dad's mechanical ability. I was the handyman for the Joneses for a lot of years, right? So like when I got this job in Texas and I moved to Texas, this is word for word exactly what his dad said, and he meant every bit of it. And he was like, "Man, you can't move to Texas." And I was like, "Well, I mean, I got a job down there, pays good." And he's like, "Dude, what the fuck is my entire family gonna do if they have a problem?" Which is no truer statement. I have done more things for Garrett and his brothers than I have myself, right? Obviously, that's an over exaggeration, but it's been a lot of things. So the example that I'm going to use here is I got a phone call from Garrett, one of Garrett's brothers, his oldest younger brother, and he's like, "Hey man, I need to do the brakes on my car. Can you help me?" And I was like, "Sure, no problem." And this is at like 11 o'clock at night, and you know, like I'm getting up and going to the farm. At this point, you weren't working there anymore. So I was getting up and going to the farm every day at like 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning.
right.
Like walking in the door at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. And he texted me at 11 o'clock at night. He's like, "Hey man, I need to do the brakes on my car. Can you help me out?" So I'm like, "Yeah, man, I'll help you out. No problem. You know, you buy the brakes and everything, and I'll come over there and do it." You know, when are you wanting to do this? I'm thinking about tomorrow. I'm like, okay, I was like, we're getting little pigs in the morning. I think we just have one load shipping fat hogs at like 10. I was like, I might be able to squeak it in there in the afternoon or something. He was like, okay, I'm going to O'Reilly's right now. And I was like, okay, at least he's got that figured out. You know, Garrett would have been like, when are we doing this? So I'll be like, oh, we're doing it Tuesday at 2 o'clock. He'd go to O'Reilly's at Tuesday at 3 o'clock. It's true, man. What did I tell you this morning? I was like, hey, we're gonna start this thing at like 9:30. I called Garrett at 9:40, and he's like, I'm feeding the dogs. I'll be there in a minute. After I woke him up at like 8 o'clock.
All right, fair enough.
But anyway, so his brother's like, man, I need help doing these brakes, and we go through this whole deal. And I'm thinking about tomorrow, and he's like, all right, well, when are you gonna get here? I was like, tomorrow? And he was like, oh man, I was really hoping we could do it tonight. So anyway, I go over there and help him do his brakes that night, right? So it's like 11:30. I'm getting tired. He's tired. Everybody's tired. And Garrett's dad comes out and he's like, oh, you're going to do the brakes? And I was like, yeah, it shouldn't take too long. It'll be pretty easy. I mean, it was just, what do you have? A Ford,
yeah. It's a
Ford Escape or Ford, no, not Escape, like a Focus or a Fusion or something. It was a thing.
Yeah.
So, not real big brakes, not real hard. Garrett's dad comes out and watches me do this, right? So I put the jack under the back, take the 4 lug nuts off. So I've got the tire off. I'm looking at the brake caliper and the brake rotor. I get in there and I take the first bolt out the back of the rotor, or the caliper, right? So there's 2 bolts that hold the caliper in. You pull the caliper off, then you can get the brake pads out, right? Compress the cylinders, put new ones in there. I pulled 1 bolt out of the caliper, and he goes, "Hi, you know what you're doing?" And I was like, "Yeah, I've been doing my own brakes, since I was a teenager. Dad and I have been doing the brakes on all our cars. I know what I'm doing." He's like, "Okay, good. You lost me. One bolt past taking the tire off." And he goes, "Oh, good. You lost me." He's like, "I'm going inside." And this was like right after. This was like right after your dad had decided where he's like, I'm gonna get more mechanical, and bought himself like a couple $100 in tools for Christmas.
Oh yeah. So here's this. So and so there's 2 stories I got with that. The first one is about the tools. I show up around the parents' house or whatever, and I'm thinking like, okay, there's tools on the tree. Like, must be for me or my brother. We're in the trades, right? I'm like, oh, Dad, thanks for all the tools. He's like, those are for you. I was like, who are they for? He's like, I was thinking like, oh, they're for Brett. And he's like,
well, because your dad had all them tools in the garage anyway.
Right. So instead of organizing his old tools, he just buys new ones, which, I mean, I get that as a guy. I mean, like, I get it. Like, I could go fix that over there, or I could just go grab some more tools. I'll grab some more tools. So anyway, I was like, what are you going to use? Who's going to use them? He's like, me. I was like, what do you need tools for? You don't know how to use them. And like, she got so mad at me. And I was like, Dad, you don't build anything. And like, that's fine. That's not your job. And so then the second story I got out of this was my dad had this old snowblower that we just talked about a minute ago. Back after me and Joe fixed it, it didn't work another time, right? And this was right after Dad got all these tools. And I come home from wherever I'm at and I'm visiting, and he's got a snowblower. I said, oh, you got a snowblower working? He's like, me just being his son, knowing him, go, where'd you take it? Got super offended and was like, nowhere, I fixed it myself. I'm a real man. And I'm like, okay, God. He didn't say I'm a real man, but that's what it sounded like. I was like, all right, man. Cool, Dad. Like, we're both adults now, so it's just like, all right, man. Good job. Like, I get it. Like,
so before we come down here, it was like the day before I left, Garrett's dad tells me he can have the snowblower, he come and gets it. And I was like, awesome. I was like, hey, man, if Dad calls you, can you bring that thing out here and let him use it or use it on the lane? Because they don't have a truck. Like, Dad's got a little Ford Ranger, he was a retired air traffic controller. My mom works at the hospital, right? So he doesn't have a big truck. He doesn't even have a half ton. He drives either. Side note: I just found my slipper.
Nice. Morgan.
Yeah, Morgan just brought it in out of the backyard.
Nice.
He's got an old Buick car that he drives, or this Ford Ranger. My mom's got a Lincoln car. So they're not set up to be driving in the winter. So they don't have a plow, they don't have a snowblower, they don't have anything, and it's like what do you say, like
quarter mile?
Yeah, like a quarter mile lane.
Yeah, they live in the country.
Yeah, so I was like, hey man, can Dad borrow that, or you come out here and use it? If he needs it. And you're like, yeah, sure. And I'm sitting here thinking, I was like, man, that's pretty cool. Your dad's just giving you a snowblower. And I thought about it. I had the thought, and I was like, I bet that bitch broke.
100%.
But like, you know, Garrett's parents, his grandparents have given him plenty of things over the years that weren't broke. You know, mostly like electronics or something.
Yeah.
Like, you know, it is what it is. Good for him, you know. And then Garrett calls me or texts me like a day or two later. Whenever you looked at it, he was like, "Yeah, the reason why it was given to me is because it's broke." And I was like, "I fucking knew it.
I knew it. I knew it.
I knew it."
But so that is my dad's story of his mechanical prowess and his ability to buy tools. I mean, he does fix some stuff around the house. Except, so my dad has been retired. He's been retired for 2 years, and he was in law
It's been
enforcement.
2 years already.
It's actually almost the third. I can't remember. Anyway, so dad's been retired for like 2 years, and he's at home just enjoying retirement life, fixing up the house. Well, he got through like all the projects of redoing all the house that my mom owned, and he got all the boys out of his house. So if you don't know this, I have 3 younger brothers, and my dad has shucked all of them out of the house in the last like 2 years. He's like, "You're out. You're done. I'm over 50. Get out of my house." And I'm a firm believer in if an eagle doesn't leave the nest, it becomes a turkey. So it worked out good for my brothers. They're all on their own doing their own thing. Well, dad's fixed up all parts of the house, so then he was like out of stuff to do, and so he finally found not that he needed one, but he found a job doing something he enjoys. And so now he's back to work.
I think he definitely needed it.
What's that?
I think he definitely needed it, and then more than that, I know your mom needed him to find a job.
Oh, 100%. Mom was not. Dad did a great job at home. He always had food cooked for her or whatever. But it was just funny the change in dynamic, because mom used to be just part time, except for the last like 8 years. I think the last 8 years she's been full time. So for my whole adult life, or most of my life until I was 20, she was working part time. So she was around a couple days a week doing stuff. Dad always worked full time. Well, then the roles switched, and she went to full time at the high school 4 or 5 years ago, and then dad retired right after that. And so dad's been home just playing Sally Homemaker, like cooking and cleaning and doing whatever. And I mean, he's done a lot of good stuff at the house, but mom's like, he needs to get a job. He needs to get a job. I don't care. I love my husband, but he needs to get a job. And then this is the part in marriage where I want to get to. Not that I necessarily want this exact situation, but this statement was just so funny for my parents' marriage. Bear with me, because you know my parents. My mom looks at me and goes, "Yep, me and your dad are over the part of like we have to spend every moment together. He does his stuff. I do my stuff during the day. If they're in the same house, he's like, at the end of the night, we watch a couple shows together, and that's our together time. We don't need to see each other much more than that unless we really want to." I was like, that is a couple that has been married for over 29 years. Right there. Like that, almost 30 years. That is a couple. I've seen that in a lot of older married couples. Is like, you go do your thing, I'm going to go do my thing. We'll hang out later. Newlyweds, let's be together 24/7, doing things all the time. Nothing from the newlywed. Well, I guess your wife isn't like you guys want to spend 24 hours a day together. So
we're kind of in like a weird spot. We're like, obviously right now is not a great example because I've been working so much, but like she works nights and I work days, so you can feel that. But she works like 3 nights a week, and I work obviously 5 days a week, and so if she's working, like if she doesn't work that night, I'll see her in the morning before I go to work, and she gets out of bed after I leave. So I see her in the morning, like, hey, there's my slipper again. Like, hey, I love you, going to work. Talk to you later. And then if she works that night, I get off at 4:30. I'm home by 5. She's leaving by 5:30 to go to work. So we get 30 minutes where we're seeing each other. Then she goes to work, and then we try to meet up in the morning. Like when I'm going to work, we meet up at Lowe's. This Lowe's parking lot right down the road from her hospital work. We'll meet up there and just hang out and chit chat for 20 minutes or whatever, and then I'll go to work and she'll come home and go to bed. And then if she's not working, I get home at 5 and we spend the evenings together. Unless it's the weekend, then we'll spend time together until like 8, 9 maybe, and then I'll usually get on and we're streaming whatever different games. So the weekends is kind of different, but we try to spend as much time as we can together. The other thing too is like we live down here,
Yeah.
so she can't just um, go to her parents' house and hang out, and I can't just go to my parents' house and hang out. Like obviously, you and I aren't just hanging out other than playing games or doing this podcast, So we really just kind of have each other. So that's why it's kind of a weird spot. Is like that's what we do. It's what works for us, and it's kind of like the only thing we got, the only option we got, other than going to hang out with my friends, and she goes with me.
Right. I mean, I get that too. Like especially like, and I think you'll notice this when if you ever move back or whatever, is like I know like when me and my wife just got married, she was on a set schedule for like the weekends. So it'd be like I work Monday to Friday, she'd be home during the week, and like Friday, Saturday, Sunday, she was gone at work, and like that was a pretty set schedule. And then she got to her RN, and now her schedule's not set. It's just whatever days they feel like because she's low man on totem pole. Um, but yeah, I get that. Like you get home and they're either asleep. This is if you guys don't if you guys aren't married or dating somebody on night shift, it's a different world, to put it this way. Like you get used to it after a while, but it's basically like you come home, they're either gone shortly after you get home, or they're asleep the whole next day, and you got to be like quiet.
So right, and then like the other thing with my job more is like I can get any day that I'm at work, I can get held over. Usually if it's my duty week, I'll get held over. But sometimes they're like, "Hey, man, we're holding the underground truck," and I don't have a choice. Unless I can find somebody to take my spot, then I may be working until 6, 7, 8 o'clock. Maybe, I might work 24 hours. I don't know. So there's all the times where she works or doesn't work, and then I get home and she's either gone or asleep, and it's just how it is. We make it work.
Yeah. But also, guys, I forgot to plug Twitch. If you guys are interested, we stream on Twitch typically on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday nights. We play a variety of games. This stream it usually starts about 6:30 Central Standard Time. If it's a weekend night, it might be a little bit later, towards 7. I have it set on the schedule on the Twitch at 7, just in case we're running a little behind. But definitely come check it out. If you guys want to ask us questions live, that's a good way to do that. We are also in the process of, when me and Joe play games, you'll be able to see both of us on my stream. I'll have his camera up and mine. Where I'm going to be sending him some lights this week. So like right now we film the podcast when he has a lot of natural lighting because his bay window is right next to him. At night, what we've learned
coffee
is that
talk in the morning,
Yeah, so what we've learned at night when he streams is like me, I have this light right behind this window right behind me, but other than that, like there's no good lighting here. Oh, he does have that. Just like
I got that, but obviously it used to be along this wall in the corner, and since then it's fallen down. So it starts here, goes over me, goes about halfway down that wall, and it fell off. But I can change the color. Maybe.
Great. Gotta work on that. Oh, there you go. Ah, blue. Look at that. Red. I like how there's like a clear gap from where it fell down, like the strip of lights, the gap in the wall with the normal color and the new light. But
and I've got 2 sections, one here and one here, where one of the colors went out.
Gotcha.
So they're RGBs and one of them's out. So it's like if it's on white, they're yellow or whatever.
Yeah.
But
well, you have anything else?
I'm trying to think. I really didn't prepare at all for this, other than what's been going on because I've been so busy.
No, it's fine. But that's what everybody here is gonna want to hear about, is what's been going on. It's our current event, not just the world current events.
Yeah, I'll put a little plug out there too. I know a lot of people think about linemen and whatnot, and they're like, oh, they're out there doing that job, they're so good or whatever. But how frustrating it is when you don't have lights at your house. Just be patient, because you got to understand these guys are out there. There's things that we have to do. I mean, if we can go up there and just repair what's wrong, then a job would take literally a quarter of the time. But there's so much safety out there now. I mean, it used to be that like 1 out of 2 linemen dies on the job. That's how it used to be back in the day. Now, obviously, it's a lot more safe. But we got to do all the different kind of safety things, put cones out, anything from putting cones out around the trucks to grounding the primary or doing whatever. So putting, insulated cover up there. So the job is exponentially longer because of all the safety we have to do. So I'll just say that we had to have customer relations customer relations liaisons following us around this last week, and their only job was to deal with customers so we could get to work because there's people that were disgruntled, which I understand. I mean, you're without lights for 4 days. It is what it is. You're going to be mad. I was too, and I work at the light company. But if you don't have power at your house, just be patient and understand that the guys that are out there doing the job are doing it the best they can, as fast as they can, the safest that they can. They don't want to be out there playing around in the bad weather. They want to be home with their families. So I'm putting my little plug out there is just be patient with them, and just try to stay out of their way. And I know it's gonna be hard not to ask, hey man, how long till my lights come on? But I was just talking to a guy the other day where he's like, how long till the lights gonna be on? And I was like, well, it's gonna be one of two things. It's either gonna be they're on in 20 minutes or they're gonna be on in about 5 hours. Because it's either I just got to refuse this and your lights are coming on, or you got a bad transformer. We got to call a big crew out here. You know, that's how it is. So and they don't always know exactly what it is. So you just got to be patient with them. They're out there doing the job. They're doing it for you. And they would much rather be at home with their families. But I just got to put my plug in there.
No, I'm gonna add on to that. So basically, if you have a problem at your house, everybody, this is just a human nature thing. I'm not saying everybody does this, but it's pretty much a human nature thing. If it's happening to you, it becomes the biggest dilemma in the world. But if it's happening to somebody else and you're trying to fix the problem, I can say this from a somewhat of a like fire standpoint.
Yeah, it's different scenario, but the same thing.
Right. So this is the best quote I've heard as far as like being on our end of things is their emergency does not constitute an emergency on my end. And that is not me saying like that to be a jerk. But what that is saying is like he's got a job to do, I have a job to do. You all know we have a job to do, and I'm not calling anybody specifically out, but just remember that the people that are coming out to help you, they're there to help you. They're not there to make your day harder. We don't do this because we're like, no, we're gonna shit on that guy. Like, no. Anybody you're dealing with, if you have any kind of problem in the world, whether it's like plumbing or your house electricity's out or whatever is going on, just remember that that person is trying to solve a problem for you. So you getting angry with them and being an ass does nothing for the situation. Actually, it makes it worse because we're like, oh, we don't do anything negative, but it's like, why are you here talking to us?
Yeah, and there's so much that you don't know too. Like, we had a couple of times where people came up to us while we were standing around not doing anything, and they're like, "Hey, man, my lights are out, and you guys are just standing here. What's up?" Obviously disgruntled. And one time it's because we're doing our tailboard, which every company may call it something different. It's their safety brief before we get started. So you look at the job, you got to write down like, safety or like safety hazards that you recognize, the way you're going to mitigate those safety risks. You got to put down a brief description of what you're doing. You got to put down like the major factors of what you're doing and stuff like that, like protective wear you have to wear. So like FR clothing, flash glasses, steel toe boots, hard hat, vest, belt or harness or whatever. And so one time we were doing that before we even started working, and they got mad at us because we weren't working. And then another time, they came out and they're like, "Hey man, why aren't you guys working?" And it's because we had just got done working for 12 hours straight, and we hadn't eaten anything yet. We're doing 16 hours, so you got enough time you work 16 hours, you go home. Nobody has water at their house, so we didn't shower. You don't have power at your house, so it's cold. So you're not sleeping good. You sleep for 4 or 5 hours, and then you got to go back and do it again. And we'd work from 6 a.m. until 6 p.m. just going. Didn't stop to eat, didn't stop to do anything. And we're like, hey, man, we need a break. So we stop and grab a bite to eat real quick, these little box lunches that we got. And they come by and they're like, "Man, I got lights in my house, man. You guys are just standing around. This is bullshit." And it's like, that's the first time we stopped for the day. So just because it may look like somebody that's, supposed to be fixing something isn't doing it yet, it doesn't mean that they're just standing around. There's plenty of other things at play. And that works for just every other day people too. Like if you deal with somebody who's just got a bad attitude, it could be they just got a bad attitude. Or you just you don't know what's going on in their life. Maybe they just, they're one of like their dad just died. You never know. But you just got to be patient with everybody, and you don't understand their situation. And just for me specifically, I know that we're out there getting it, trying to get the lights back on for everybody. So it's all good now, but in the future, just try to be patient and bear with them.
Your perception does not mean that it is everybody else's reality. Just remember that. I mean, I don't know who said that or whatever. You can Google it later. I don't know. But basically, that's the quote that came to mind for me is like, your perception of what's going on is not always the reality of what actually is going on. And it, like Joe always says that he sold this to me like 5 times when he was home. There's 3 sides to every story. There's your side, my side, and the truth. And somewhere in the middle of your side and my side might be a fraction of the truth. Who knows? Like, everybody's perception is different. Just, I know everybody who probably listens to this is, most of you guys are pretty good people. Just remember when you're getting frustrated with somebody, they didn't ask to be shit on. Just remember that. Like, that Lowe's employee that's like not good at his job, like, be patient with him. I mean, have a little bit of grace is basically all we're saying. Because it ain't like we wake up every morning and we're not gonna shit in everybody else's Cheerios. So, but on that note, pissing everybody's Cheerios. Sorry.
No, that's fine. I'm trying to find who said
Oh.
your perception is not my reality.
I thought you meant shit in their Cheerios. Like, I'm pretty sure that's not a quote, but all right.
It's the same thing. I don't want anybody to shit in my Cheerios. Perception is not reality. No, that's a lesson about psychology.
Cool. You heard it here first. Quote off the Tier Logic podcast.
No, you didn't make it up. It's on. It's like on, like those motivational pages. Like here's one of the picture of Eisenhower.
If you guys have listened to the previous episodes, you understand why that's so funny. I'll link that up in the description.
No, it does not have a.
What time is that? 1:27. Okay. All right, guys.
Here's
Thank
one.
you.
Your opinion is your opinion. Your perception is your perception. Do not confuse them with facts or truths. That was John Moore.
Nice.
Your opinion is not my reality. Steve Maraboli. That's pretty close. Your perception of me is not my reality. Pratiksha Shivarkar.
Alrighty. So,
your perception is not my reality. Oh, here we go. That's it. Daffodil? Is that a person? Daffodil?
who the hell's Daffodil?
I don't know. It sounds like an NPC off of Witcher 3. Well,
It
that's
is.
Dandelion.
Oh, dang it. I thought it was. I was like, super excited. I'm like, hey, I remember something off that stupid character.
I licked it, so it's mine. Man, I'm going into a rabbit hole here.
Okay. Well,
Okay,
guys, we're going to wrap this up for
We
today.
I need to go to bed.
Yeah.
That's what needs to happen.
Joe's been up for like 28 plus hours. So,
dude, it's almost noon. Is that right?
yeah, man, this podcast always goes until almost noon. Yeah. Yeah. That's why I was like,
I was up
anyway.
at 4:30 yesterday morning.
You're at work. You're up all night. You weirdo.
2 days ago?
you. Yes.
I fucked up.
Let's see. So it'd been 4:30 2 days ago. Yes, this morning at 4:30 would have been 24 hours you were awake, and now we're going to noon. So you're at least at 38 hours.
24, 5, 36, 37, 38, 39, 30, 10, 30, 11, 37, plus 24. 31.
Sorry.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. So before this gets any weirder, we appreciate you all hanging out. All of the socials will be linked down below. We appreciate you guys tuning in. If you guys already haven't, please subscribe to the podcast and leave a review if you'd like.
Yes,
It helps
yes,
us more than you know.
I want to hear all the feedback, negative, positive, whatever. Whether tell us we're doing it wrong, tell us we're stupid. I want to hear about it.
Yeah. I mean, you're not going to offend us. It's going to be hard to do. You can hit me up on all my socials. They'll be linked below. Joe is our resident non-social guy, so we just get him on here for his social interactions. If you guys want to hit us up, I'll leave the Twitch link down below. We will be streaming next Friday, Saturday, and Sunday night is what's on the plan for now. If you join the Discord that's in the link, it'll have an update schedule in there. We appreciate you guys hanging out. If there's any topics that you guys want us to talk about or things
Stories
that
you want to share,
yeah, I mean, just like if you have something really cool happen and you want to write about it and we'll read it on here or something like that, or we can do a lot of different stuff, guys. We're still pretty early into this podcast, but we appreciate all of you hanging out and tuning in. And I'll let Joe finish with his closing thoughts.
That pretty much wraps it up, man. Just everything he said. If you got something else to talk about or you got an opinion, I want to hear it. I want to hear it all, man, because even if it's negative, that we're going to learn something from it. So this is what, the fourth?
Fourth.
This is the fourth installment of Tier Logic Podcast. So like I said, we're new into this. We're just getting it figured out. This is the first time that I'm recording my audio and sending it to Garrett to put on the podcast. Usually he's been recording the video and the audio for both of us. This time he's just recording his audio, his video, and my video. And I'm recording my audio. So I'm going to be sending him my audio. So if it's messed up, you guys listen to it and you're like, hey man, try this, then that'd be greatly appreciated. But I need to go to bed. I've been up way too long. I think that's all I got. That's all I got for now. Come check us out when we're streaming. We're going to be playing games tonight. Oh, wait, but this might not be out tonight.
It's not going to be out tonight. I can tell you that right now because I
don't have a watch.
It's Sunday.
What day is it?
Sunday. So Friday night, come check us out. For sure, we'll be on Friday.
It's the 21st? Oh,
yeah.
My God, dude. My days are all messed up. Chicken salad sandwich.
So,
the 21st. So if it's the 22nd and you hear this, you missed it. We're streaming tonight. Probably streaming tomorrow night.
Yeah. So we're definitely streaming the 26th of February, 2021. For anybody who's listening to this in the future, our schedules might have changed. Join the Discord. It will have an up-to-date schedule. You guys are awesome. Thank you all for hanging out. We appreciate all of you. We will be back next week for another installment of this. Joe will be rested. I will be rested. And it will be back onto more of our normal feel of a podcast. So until then, you guys have a great rest of your week. Stay safe. Stay warm. And we will catch you on the next one.